What are we doing here?
Um, Jason, I think what we're doing here is this is my podcast, the Porn Stash. No, Jason, I know everything about you, but I forget every couple of days. Who are you?
I am the creative director for the RPG division of Catalyst Game Labs.
Okay, I'll try to remember it this time.
Yes.
What do you do?
I creatively direct role-playing games at Catalyst Game Labs.
Got it.
So, I mean, it's still being invented, honestly, the position, because we just started the division. We started the division because we've always had Shadowrun.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have had the license for Frostpunk for a while and been working on bringing it out. And then we added another license, and that's Voltron.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with all those games in the hopper and more possibilities in the future, we thought it would be good to have a whole division to make all these games happen. So I could also still work on Shadowrun and work with the new Shadowrun line developer and help him get up to speed and do all of that stuff. But then I could work on all the other role playing games that we intend to have. But part of the job is I have to make these role playing games exist and then work on them.
Absolutely. No, it sounds pretty easy.
I guess.
I
I
saw you
like I
nod
said, I'm still
inside.
trying to figure out what it is.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Honestly, at the moment, I have fewer books to bring out per year than I did a Shadowrun line developer, so it's not bad.
That's fair. That's fair. I can tell by how stressed RJ is, that I think you might be getting out of this deal a little bit ahead.
So one of the things, I kept going through on my last months of Shadowrun line development, like, oh, this is the last time I'll do this task for Shadowrun. This is,
Mhm.
and one of them was like, ooh, this is the last time I'll have to enter proofing comments for a Shadowrun book. Because the way our process works is we send PDFs out to proofers and then they mark it up with
Mhm.
lots and lots of comments. And then we have to go into Adobe software and do all of that. And it's not hard, but it takes some time. So you put on a movie and go, and sometimes it takes days and it takes a while.
Mhm.
And so there was like, I think, one, maybe two books where RJ did that whole thing. And then on the most recent two, he's been like, yeah, so things are a little behind. You want to do half the book? And that was right after I said, whatever I can do to help make sure we stay on timeline.
And
Let me
then
know.
immediately regretted
And
that
so
statement.
immediately, like, would you like to enter proofing comments? So I got myself, I shivved myself.
That's fair. That's
So I'm
fair.
back to entering proofing comments. But no,
It's okay.
it's
It's
fine.
better than the alternative than him silently suffering and then getting
And he's
back.
still doing half of them. So that's
Very
good. So yeah, and it's just a process of helping him learn what it is, and if I can take some of the burden to make it a little lighter, then that's good too, because
Mhm.
it can be a very demanding job.
Absolutely fair. Well, just to go into a little bit more about you as a person, from the time that you get up in the morning to when you start working and whenever you get off, or well, I mean, what do you consider your leisure time, if you can call it that?
I work at home and I set my own hours.
You mean you live at work?
Also that, yes. But that anyone who has any sort of supervisory capacity over me lives 2,000 miles away,
Fair.
so I have a fair amount of freedom.
Mhm.
So we usually, like, the first thing we do in the day is get my daughter to school, and then my wife and I will walk somewhere. So we are very lucky to have several good locations, nature preserve nearby, a
Mhm.
beach nearby. So I do that. I start my days slow. I like to play games in the morning some, and then get into work later. I always work with emotional support noise. So I always have the TV telling me something, or Cubs games. So it's difficult to say where the exact boundary between leisure and work is, because there's a lot of time, and this will happen next week. So, Monday I'll get home and I'll be exhausted and won't do a whole lot.
Mhm.
And Tuesday I'll vow to be like, I don't have to work today. I worked plenty last week. I can take the day off. So I'm just going to do things that I enjoy.
Mhm.
So I'll sit back. and I'll probably like turn on a Cubs game because I'm a big baseball fan. And I'll be watching the baseball game, and I'll think, I could probably edit something while I'm watching the game. And so
That's fair.
pull up my iPad and start editing something. And so or I could write something. I want to. One nice thing is I've been able to get a little more into fiction again, writing some of the fiction for Catalyst. I just turned in a novel to our fiction editor a couple months ago, and he also mentioned that maybe writing for Shrapnel would be something I could try to get into. I haven't written BattleTech fiction in 15 years. So it's kind of fun to try to remember what that's like. So I've been reading some of the source material, looking for the right hook, because that was when I wrote my very first BattleTech story. Is I read something in a source book, and I said, well, what if I make a story not about this guy, but about a guy who's kind of like that guy, and went from there. So I'm waiting for that moment in the source book to say that's where I could write a story that isn't the full main plot line of BattleTech, because I'm not.
I can just go on.
I can just take a little tangent and tell a fun story out there.
No, that's fair.
So yeah, I'll figure out something like that, and that may be on my relaxation time on Tuesday that I'm reading the source book and looking for a fiction idea. So it all blends in.
That's completely. I am glad that your current situation is allowing those creative juices to come back.
Well, I'm getting to do more for Catalyst. I did more on my own before. I think this is Lauren's fault. Because this is
no,
what
you don't get any of my. You don't get.
This is what we. I mean, he wanted Shadowrun to stay on schedule, and to be perfectly honest,
we can't have 3 interviews today where it's like Lauren. Come on.
No, I'm about to take some response. To be perfectly honest, there were a number of years the Shadowrun line developer where I wasn't fully on schedule, so he wanted to be on schedule. So he sometimes would say, "Don't give Jason a novel until he's gotten things worked out," which is fair because novels are fun, and it's possible if I had a novel contract, be like, "Oh, I forgot to work on a source book because I was writing a fun novel." But that has loosened up. But I still did fiction. My wife and I have worked on our own kind of fantasy setting. It was actually her idea that she came up with, and was kind enough to draft me in. Just an alternate fantasy history thing in 17th century Americas. So it's been a fun thing to write. And I for a while as Shadowrun Line developer, I didn't do a lot of fiction because I was just so swamped. But I managed to kind of figure out and get it more set and learn the process. So then I was able to carve out some time, usually on weekends, where I just said, this is going to be my fiction time. So I still got that going. We got, I think, 3 novellas out of it, and I was working on a novel before the Shadowrun novel came along.
No, absolutely.
So I'm still getting to work on those muscles. And Lauren, that will be nice to Lauren. When he hired me, he said 2 things that, he needed 2 conditions that he'd hired me on. And first, my direct supervisor at Catalyst is Randall.
Right.
But Randall and I have been friends for 25 years or so. And he said, this can't affect your friendship with Randall. If the job starts to mess up your friendship with Randall, then we're going to have to find something else, because I don't want you guys to not have your friendship, which was nice. And he also said, and I don't want this to mess up your writing. You need to keep writing. So the fact that he wasn't giving me Catalyst writing is fine. He still had it in mind that I should keep doing it. And it just took me, for my own problems for a while, to figure out the right balance and learn how to carve out the time so I could do my stuff.
No, absolutely. And
that was a really long answer to a fairly simple question.
No, you're good. Listen, I am enjoying that very much. The least favorite thing that I can say that could be happening right now is, yeah. So, did you like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Was your personal projects, what was it all just in that same vein, or did you kind of go off on your own at any point?
Lately it's been the 3 stories that in my wife's setting, just because each of them, the 3 novellas, got to take on a different aspect. And so like the first one was about one character, and that was my way of getting into the setting and using her as a way to kind of feel out what the setting was. And she, the main character, belonged to a band of Native Americans in Central Illinois way before it was Illinois. Um, and another person in her band was a very curt, blunt, to the point person, and she was just fun to write for because people who say what they think are usually fun for dialogue.
No fair.
And so then, not long after I finished that first novella, I was thinking of where things were in the timeline and what would happen to get to some of the things we wanted to happen in the setting. I thought, well, inevitably, some missionaries would probably come down and encounter this group of natives. And I thought of this blunt character, and if missionaries encountered her, I was like, oh, she would have so much, or she wouldn't have fun because she's perpetually annoyed by them, but I would have a lot of fun with her being annoyed. So then that was the second story, is just her dealing with this and how they interact and why the missionaries are there in the first place. And then the third one was just about another character because it kind of bled naturally to a third character who was a storyteller and trying to shape some of the stories of what this band had gone through. And going to a big gathering where stories are very important and where you do a lot of trading and back and forth, but the story you tell at this gathering can influence what you get. And if you tell the right story, then maybe you can get more prosperity for your band. But the question is, what is the right story? Are you trying to tell a story that evokes people's pity? Are you trying to tell a story that makes them laugh? Are you trying to tell a story that intimidates them? What is the right story to get people to respond? So that was a fun one to do, just kind of a story about stories.
No, absolutely.
So
my answer to that would be the one to make them laugh.
That's always a good one, yeah. I certainly am in favor of that. But so yeah, it was taking kind of what my wife created and then finding fun ways to explore. And we were always kind of trying to build up to the novel because I'd read about King Philip's War, which happened a little bit before the Revolution. And it's just an interesting part of American history where it's one of the real early elements where the tide started to shift and where instead of being just settlers, you got a real stronger colonist vibe. And it was the sense of manifest destiny that would eventually lead to all sorts of horribleness were starting to take root. And so it's a very interesting war and how the sides came about. So we wanted to get to a part where I could do a novel about that, but I had to gain an understanding about the setting first. And so that was all kind of my own thing to do that. And I think I wrote another short story or two in the interim just because opportunities came up.
No, absolutely. Well, and also I did have a couple of questions before, for whenever I had Brian and Stackpole. What piece of writing of yours did you most detach from yourself in order to write? What is a character or book that fully takes you out of yourself because morally, attitude, or otherwise is so far away from you?
That's tough to say because I don't get too far away, but two stories that come to mind is I wrote a story called Triangle Monologues, and this was something I wrote a long time ago. I think it was before I even had a novel published. And it was just from three sides of a romantic triangle. So two men and a woman, and just each of them talking about their experience and their views and how they saw the situation. And the challenge was to make sure each person was presenting their side well and sympathetically. So that with each character, you're like, oh, I see your point. Oh, I see your point. and then go to the third person. Oh, I see your point too. So there's no bad guy or bad person in the story. You can't say, oh, well, you're the cheating bad person. So you're clearly the villain of this piece. But each person has their reasons for doing it. And so that meant I had to get inside each person's head
To where
so that I could present their side well.
you could present their side, but also but there wasn't any, was there any discredit coming from any part of that triangle to another part of that triangle? Like,
I mean, there's certainly anger and different hurt emotions in
mhm.
there. And so it's whose anger is valid, or once you read, oh, I'm mad at you because you're interested in this other person, and then you read that person's side and say, well, no, this is what I'm actually feeling, and this is how you're reading it, and how much of it is just people misreading the situation. And so a number of years later, and this is another time when I was reading a BattleTech source book and something leapt out at me. I read a passage about a mercenary company, and I forget the name of it now. Was it the Blackheart Roses or Blackthorn Roses, something like that. But the leader, I believe, was Sarah Hart Rose, I think was her name. And she's a very capable mech pilot.
Mhm.
And has a husband who's very good looking, very charismatic, quite a catch. She is very skilled, very intelligent, not viewed as the most physically attractive person. And in her command is someone, one of her mech warriors, who is very physically attractive. And throughout the command, there were rumors that her husband was actually stepping out with this very attractive person. And so I thought about the story I'd written years before and thought, what if I could do the same thing with these three? What if I could take each of their perspectives and try to put them on the page and make each of them feel justified?
Mhm.
And so when the one commander was writing, you felt, I didn't want to say rage because she controls it, but you felt that there's a
That
lot of tension with her husband that she doesn't want to admit to. And neither of them want to admit what they're saying, but they know all the rumors and they're kind of mad about it.
mhm.
And so I wrote a story called Whatever the Mess You Are, You're Mine, which is based on one of my
That
favorite.
sounds really sweet.
I stole those lyrics.
You know what? You know what? You still know how to pick them because
Yeah.
that is so sweet.
It's
Actually.
it's from a song by the New Pornographers. Hey, look, I said pornographer on
Oh,
the porn couch. Yes. They're on the porn couch talking about the New Pornographers. Welcome.
oh my
I don't know if
goodness.
you're familiar with the group. Fantastic group.
No, no, no. I'm not.
Oh, you
I
should.
only know the old ones.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
But it's and it's a song kind of about a romantic triangle. The song is called Challengers. So the line worked, but yeah, I love that line too. The just whatever the mess you are, you're mine. But I got a chance in the story to twist it a little bit. So it's
Hmm.
both you're mine in the sense of you're mine and I love you, and you're mine in the sense of you're in my sights,
Like
in my
possessive.
target,
Oh.
and you're mine, and I
Mm.
will.
No, that
Not
is
not to
fair.
spoil too much, but if I remember right, the last line of the story is, "If you died, I would miss you, even if I was the one who killed you," which I'm very proud of.
No, 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 no. You should be. That is good. That is really good. I love the idea of taking something so gory and or like and just something so driven by hardship and wartime and pride and honor, and then injecting something
Yeah,
that
and
emotional into it.
you make a good point about the wartime because that heightens all the emotions, and
Hmm.
that's one of the things they talk about is that when you're in this situation and you're terrified some of the time and you're scared and you're triumphant, how do you then just dial your emotions back to zero? And
Exactly.
that's not easy.
Well, I could imagine that at least at least a small portion of people would possibly just go emotionless.
Yeah, and you hear about it from soldiers returning from war that
Mm.
it's tough to dial back, and that's one of the ways to do it is you just kind of deaden all the emotions, and trying to return to a sense of normalcy is really hard.
Mhm. Although I'm still stuck on that title and that last line. That is so good. That would be the story that would get me down the rabbit hole of reading more into the world. I'm going to be honest. It takes like a good, not like necessarily romance, but a good, like, very interwoven, like, relationship story to get me into a universe. It's happened with Doctor Who. It's
Oh
happened
yeah,
with
there's some good ones.
any fandom that I've ever been a part of. It is because of that first one where it's like, I'm so interested. I can hear all about this world now, even if it's not specifically
Right,
about
but
these
it's
people.
now going to flesh out what the thing that I'm interested in. Yeah.
Well, Jason, I now know what you do.
That's what
I
I
will
do.
forget here in a couple of days.
That's fine. We're all going to forget our own names in a couple of days.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, what are you most looking forward to here at GenCon?
I am most looking forward to the demos of Frostpunk and Voltron that we're going to be running. It's been, especially with Frostpunk, it's been a long road to get where we are.
At least 11 miles.
Yes, at least. And so that we've got just a fantastic play area. If you see the booth, it's got this big 14
I
or
haven't
12
been able
foot.
to go down there all day today.
So we got two 12-foot Frostpunk banners with a generator.
No, 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 no. I did. Okay, yes,
And
yes.
then
No, I
one
did
of
get to see
them
those.
faces an area, and we've got kind of fake wood grain
Mm-hmm.
floor, and then two other banners of Frostpunk art there, and then a table to sit at. So you're just surrounded. And while I was setting it up today, setting up the tables, people kept walking by and looking, going, "That looks so cold. That looks so desolate." And I'm like, "Yes, that's
that was
the
the aim.
goal."
Oh, that's so good.
But every time I've run demos of the game, I've done it on some of the streams and did it at other conventions.
Which, by the way, 3.4 thousand views as of now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's really interesting just to see how people grapple with the dilemmas that they're faced. And one of my favorites, I mean, the stream for Gen Con TV was great because they were like, you guys were going to throw that guy over.
Oh yeah.
We're going to frame that old man.
Yeah, yeah. No, no. I'm genuinely surprised. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't have I don't think that decision would be like, oh, murder hobo-y.
Yeah.
I They just don't usually run that way in like Shadowrun campaigns. So I was very confused.
Yeah.
But I mean, also at the same time, that kind of works considering what my character was supposed to be.
Well, and I think one of the differences between like Frostpunk and the Shadowrun campaign, in Shadowrun, you're a lone runner up against a mega corporation that's got trillions of dollars or trillions of million worth of stuff. So how do you overthrow it? But in Frostpunk, you're in a city of a few hundred people. So conceivably, you could make a difference if you're able to affect something. That's one of the first demos I ran at the UK Game Expo. Once they started figuring out the basic thing that was going on in the scenario and some of the dilemmas they were facing, all the players just looked at each other and said, so we need a social revolution, don't we? Yeah. And then immediately after that, like, okay, so how do we do that? How do we accomplish that?
How would you do that?
And
You get it?
that's exactly the question. Who do you have to talk to? Who do you have to convince? What sacrifices are going to have to be made? Are you going to, have to go without coal? Are you going to have to go without wood? Are you going to have to go without food for a period of time to get what you want? Or to get what you think you want, and will that actually work?
And the thing is that we weren't able to hit off because I had 2 session 1s with you effectively. So I the thing that I haven't been able to see is like the overarching story where from each session going, okay, because of what happened last session, you now call production is down.
Right.
Now what were the other two meter the like ethic meters? Like
Hope and
law,
discontent.
hope and discontent.
And then faith and order for
Yes.
how you manage the city.
Having those to juggle around as well as it gives you both a sense of playing as one of the townspeople, but also playing as the captain, which, in the video game, you get all of those bars. You're able to fully track how far up something will bring you. Discontent will rise. Coal production fails because everything is too cold and you don't have enough heaters set up. But
Well, if you remember, I told you I was going to look back at the game to see if generator should be capitalized, and you were right, and I was wrong, and it should be capitalized. But
I appreciate that.
That was a task that should have taken me, 10 or 15 minutes. But when I went to check in on the game, I was in the segment of the first mission when you're dealing with the Londoners, and you've got the people who are threatening to leave your city because they're not happy, and you've got to try to do whatever you can to try to appease them or get them more content. And so I was like, well, I better just finish up the Londoners part, and then I'll be done. And then I'm like, oh, all right, I think I've got all the Londoners pacified. I did so good on home. It's 12:30. I'm supposed to go to bed. So that's sometimes what I do for leisure.
No, absolutely.
And work.
Listen, me and Rim, I think can put a lot of people to shame as far as how many hours they put into Frostpunk the game. It is far too addicting, and I never even bought the DLC. I never got the DLC.
Oh, yeah, the On the Edge DLC is pretty fun.
I need to.
That's good stuff.
I need to. The moment that I actually get the chance to sit down and play video games again.
But then on the other side, we got the Voltron.
Very true.
RPG, which the flavor is a little different.
Well, I haven't played through, or I haven't.
Yeah, Voltron's a little less ethical trade-offs and more build giant super robot and vanquish the bad guys.
Give me a wolf hand and make it hold a sword.
Yeah. And we're still using the same dice core system, and this is one Randall and I made a number of years ago. And the genesis of that was we both we're looking at something similar, and I showed him a spreadsheet of the type of dice pools that dice core uses, and showed him the probabilities and everything. Like, ooh, that's a really good probability curve. And so Frostpunk is based on the main version that we looked at, which uses D4 through D12. But then when you get a setting that has more extra powers, which Frostpunk does not have superpowers or magic or anything like that, not that sort of setting. Voltron does. So how can you show that Voltron has extra powers that go above and beyond what anyone else can do? And that's throwing a D20. And so you start looking at what a D20 does to the probability curve, and it's really cool, and it jumps up really nicely. So if you can give selected uses of the D20, so then when you form Voltron, depending on how well your team is working together, and if you're, really cohesive, because that's definitely part of Voltron, the team needs to be on the same page. They're fighting, they're not going to do it. But if you form Voltron really well, you'll get a few D20s to use as Voltron, and get to really womp on people with your powers, and whether it's your big blazing sword or laser cannon, whatever you have. But I'm anxious to see that in practice and see how it goes.
And then if I don't know exactly how much, for lack of a better word, prep rolls would be required in order to form Voltron, but the idea that if you're not clicking as a team can entirely change the entire movement of a battle is pretty great in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that reflects just how all the Voltron properties work. You see if the paladins are at each other's throats or arguing, Voltron doesn't happen. And it's when they're on the same page and cohesive that you get the best Voltron.
And of course, we have the difference between Legendary Defender and
Defender of the Universe.
Defender of the Universe. I knew that they both had Defender in them.
That's okay.
A little bit hungry.
That chicken wrap wasn't enough.
No, and I only had a couple bites too.
That's true. We're just sitting here gabbing and keeping you from eating.
No, it's fine. So, and that isn't. And we established that the theme wasn't going to change the core mechanics of the game.
Right.
But it is going to have different artwork.
Yeah, so we'll have 2 books that you
Mhm.
can choose, or you can go ahead and get both. You can choose if you want to play in the Legendary Defender, which is the Netflix series version, or the Defender of the Universe. And so we'll have different book covers and art for each one. The core rules will be the same, but then all the flavor that goes into it. So, what are the enemies? What are the paladins? Who are the people you run into? What missions you're going to go on will be different for each book, so that you can
Fair.
be set for whichever setting you want to play in, or alternate back and forth. I especially like, actually I like both covers. Our designer layout person Matt did a fantastic
Mhm.
job on the covers. If you have, I no, we're recording this, so I don't know if people will see it during Gen
We're
Con.
Well, the thing is, I have already gotten some little editor notes in there that's like, hey, you should pull this out before Gen Con is over. So I can be like, oh, we should pull out a little bit of this one.
If we happen to show this to anyone who sees it at Gen Con, drop by the booth. We have mock-ups of the covers. So the Legendary Defender cover is awesome because it's a big close-up on Voltron,
Mhm.
but his raised hand crosses over to the back cover.
Right.
So it's a really dynamic action shot. When you open it up, it looks great. And then the Defender of the Universe cover is so 80s. It's
This is real
beautifully
retro. Just
80s. It's
oh.
got, yeah, the rainbow outline and everything. And I knocked my microphone.
No, you're good. You're good. That one's Breeze. You're fine.
All right, whatever. And so it's got just a fantastic 80s feel to it. And so Matt nailed it on both of them and made them look gorgeous.
No, I need to get Matt to give me like a little mashup logo or something of the sort. I tried making one. I am not the graphic
Oh
designer.
no! Every time I do a simple thing, and there was a book I self-published a number of years ago, and I thought I made a cool cover, and then I handed it to someone who knew something about graphic design, and they came back and was like, "Oh, that's what a real designer could do. That's much better." And I've done that with Matt sometimes. I'm like, "Look, I put some words together and made a logo. Anyway, you could make that better." And he takes an hour or two. He's like, "Yes, now
There
it
you
looks
go.
actually professional, you doofus."
Did you know that it can look clean?
Yeah, but I don't know how.
Exactly. No, no, no.
But yeah.
I feel like, listen, I'm just gonna blame it on the fact that we don't have like, I don't know what you have on your personal computer. I don't have any like specific artistry
I
software.
don't have that excuse. I have the entire Adobe
Oh,
Creative
okay.
Suite because sometimes I need to, for work, sometimes I need to use Acrobat, sometimes I need to use InCopy. Sometimes I dabble in Photoshop very loosely, but
Just you could have lied to me.
I
I would have
know.
never have known.
Ah, well, I'm not that smart is the problem.
That's fair.
I got word processors in the browser. That's all my computer can handle. I don't know what to do.
I have WordPad and I think I have the most updated version of Internet Explorer before it went out. I'm pretty sure. Oh,
Can
but
access all the websites from the late 80s. They're all
I
text.
still hop in the Wayback Machine occasionally just to check it out. See the
Yeah.
before times.
Back when I don't want to put a picture on this website. No one will want to look at it. It won't
Exactly.
download.
I
But
just
here's a
do the
graphic in ASCII text.
I would have thrived.
You would have had a lot of fun making those. Yeah.
Okay, so we have Frostpunk, we have Voltron. I'm not forgetting anything that we can say at this very
Well, there's one more
moment
we can say
that we can say.
because instead of doing just licensed properties, we're going to do some of our own things. And getting back to our beloved designer, Matt.
Hmm.
Matt is not a Gen Con, sadly. I
Yeah.
would enjoy having him because he's fun to hang out
You
with.
say sadly, but I'm sure he's having a great time on vacation.
Right, because where is he going on vacation? Matt is going to the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally
Right.
on vacation
Right.
because Matt loves his motorcycles. And he loves them so much that he came up with a setting that he calls Wizard Riders. And so it's end of the life of the sun type setting. So, fast forward Earth a long time.
Hmm.
And so you have all sorts of, I don't know if you've ever read any of the stuff of Jack Vance or Gene Wolfe's book, The New Sun, but you get kind of the dying Earth setting, and you can have a license to do whatever weirdness you want because civilization has risen and fall and risen and fall and collapsed and done all that several times by the time you get to a dying Earth setting. So, what Matt wanted to do with a dying Earth setting is put roving gangs of motorcycle riding wizards in a post apocalyptic dying Earth future.
I am honestly so sorry if this has been brought up in any of the meetings and I'm not remembering, because this feels like something that I would have committed to memory.
It's we're moving along kind of slowly because we just had the Frostpunk and Voltron stuff to deal with, and we don't want to overwhelm and other stuff going on.
Of course, everything that he's
but
doing
we
for
at least
Leviathans.
moved on quick enough that he got some concept art together, and got a QR code and some other things, and made a bunch of postcards that he's taken with him to Sturgis. So he's going to pass it out to all the other motorcycle riders.
Do we have the other artwork?
I have it somewhere. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to show it to you. It's
Yeah,
pretty
no,
cool.
please,
It's
please.
just a wizard in kind of a Gandalf hat with seen from the back, turned to the side so you get his glowing red eyes, and he's got some real funky braids coming down his hair, and he's wearing a leather jacket with the Wizard Riders logo on the back. It's pretty boss. It's good.
That is so cool. Okay, yeah, no. If you get that over to me, I at least want to take a picture.
Yeah.
I want to also throw that.
I will share it with you.
Oh.
So it's going to be, just over the top gonzo weirdness, and I'm all in favor of that. So we got that going on. Can I mention the other one?
So I'm not sure.
Me neither.
I want to, but also, this is recorded, but also I don't want to give anybody any more work than has to be done.
I won't announce it yet. We'll just keep some surprises in the hopper for now.
Exactly. You'll know in due time.
Yeah, there will be some other fun stuff.
Either you know by now or you don't.
All I'm gonna say is, I did a version of this game because I wanted to make a version. Dice Core is the system we use. I wanted to make a version of Dice Core that might work better for younger audiences. And I played it with my daughter right about the time she started attending a D&D club at her school, and then played it with her, and I asked her what she thought, and she said it's better than D&D. So mark that down, everyone.
Quote it.
Better than D&D coming soon.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay, if we're reaching back, how many conventions, how many Gen Cons have you been to?
So the first one I went to, it was in '99. And that was because Randall introduced us to it. And he loves to tell this story because he's like, you guys need to see it. And to tell my wife, Kat, that she needs to see the art show. And
which I hope you now know that I have now heard this from Randall's perspective and Kat's perspective.
Yeah.
And now
we all love the story. And just seeing her walk around the art show going, I can do this. And so we then started going to the art show every year. So she was in the art show for several years. And that was for a few years in Milwaukee, and then here, and we're staying out by the airport. And I was like, someday I'm going to stay in one of the hotels next to the convention center, and someone else is going to pay for it. That's my vow. Because I was sick of driving out to the airport every year.
That's fair.
And also taking care of a child. It was exciting. And so then, we got the job. The art show changed rules, so she had to adjust and wasn't in the art show for a while. They did kind of an alternate art show. But then she pitched her collective art project, so she's doing that. So that means we've been every year that they've had it since '99. So I would say 25 years, but there was a year without a Gen Con. So
Randall didn't count that, so we're not gonna.
Okay. So about 25 years.
Fair. Well, what was the most eventful year for you? Whether that be a moment or the entire time. And let's go ahead and just split that up. Let's go negative and positive. You get two different ones.
So possibly the most eventful was when I got hired as Shadowrun Line developer. That one was pretty crazy.
Fair.
That was still staying out by the airport. And have I told you the story of how I found out that I got the job?
I don't think so.
Okay. What's our rating on the language rating on our interview?
The language is that CJ will fucking figure it out.
Fair enough. So I did some. I knew that they were looking for a Shadow Online developer. I talked to Lauren and said I'm interested, and they interviewed me. And then I was waiting to hear. And so I went to the Catalyst booth that Saturday morning after I'd interviewed, and Adam Jury Last, who was working with Catalyst at the time, saw me and walked over to me and escorted me to the side of the booth and said, "If you fuck up the game that I have loved my whole life, I will kill you." And I said, I didn't know I was going to get the chance to fuck it up. But that's how I learned that I was going to get the chance. So it was crazy up until then. And then we had a freelancer meeting that night. And this was back when the freelancer meetings were exceptionally late and freewheeling affairs. So the meeting started at midnight. And so it's a bunch of Shadowrun freelancers just gathered in a hotel room. And then, I walk in and say, "Hey, I'm the new developer. I'm all your new boss. You don't know me. Okay, this isn't awkward at all. It's cool." And then we talked and did plots and plans until I think 3 in the morning. And I'm still staying out by the airport at that point. So I got to figure out how to get a 20-minute drive from downtown so I can get some sleep so that I can try to finish things up. And then, yeah, someone was nice enough to give me a ride out to my hotel. And so then I got a little bit of sleep, came back and figured out what this job was going to be. Talk to everyone. So that was pretty crazy just trying to do all that.
Well, at least you came in with the right frame of mind. Not enough sleep.
Yeah.
A little bit spastic, and basically riding off of somebody else's goodwill.
I was walking by the front entrance to the convention center and seeing people loading out and everything who were just arriving. And I was thinking, remember when I thought that arriving at Wednesday on GenCon was early? Because for the first few years, we would arrive at Thursday morning because we were, trying to keep costs as low as possible. So Kat and I would drive down and try to arrive at like 9 o'clock in the morning, which means we're leaving Chicago at 5 or 6 in the morning.
I mean, I get it. Not having that extra night of a hotel.
Right. Yeah, it made a difference. So we're trying to drive down and load out, and we're finally like, do you know what? I think we can afford to come in on Wednesday and set up the art booth then. And that was so exciting that we could come in on Wednesday. And that was early to Gen Con. And now I'm coming in on Monday, and all the Catalyst people are already here and have set up most of the booths. So
it's okay. Whenever I first got here, on what was it? It was like midday Monday. I was the first one who got up to the room, and I was getting all these texts from Rim and the rest of the team, and I sent off a response. I didn't think of anything of it. Someone was like, "Hey, no need to get snarky," and I was like, "I wasn't being snarky." Rim immediately, next line, goes, "Don't make me call Lauren and tell him that you're there."
The threats we use. Yeah. So worst Gen Con, because it's fairly easy because we always just refer to this as the bad Gen Con. And usually we're walking on a wire for some products that we want to get here, and we're working to try to get some things, and usually get most of it there, but not all of it. This year we were really close on the Scroll of the Dragon. It was a 2 weeks ago that they said, "Nope, not going to be there. We can't get it there." And then Lauren, and again, to give him credit because we're giving him lots of crap.
No. I love Lauren.
Yeah.
At least 50% of the
Yeah, no. We're giving him lots of crap, but it's okay because he won't watch this.
No, exactly. Lauren, if you get mad at this, just go watch all of my streams first.
Yeah, we're just happy you're paying attention.
Exactly. Thank you.
But he worked and made it happen and got it here, so that was good.
Which we have 72 of those, right? Wait, were we talking
Yeah,
about
I
Dragon's
think
Balls? Yeah.
my phone was going off like crazy. I want to make sure it wasn't an emergency.
Oh no, you're good. Is
Um,
it a
I don't
food
think it's an
emergency?
emergency. No, it's John.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
I think John was looking to see if I was going to dinner yet. So that's not a
Okay.
real emergency. Though we do need to eat.
Yeah, yeah. No, we can.
But so that the bad Gen Con, nothing. Nothing made it. We had like 8 or 10 things that we were hoping would make it, and none of the new things made Gen Con. So we had, old stuff, but none of the stuff that we were counting on to be the really impressive thing or the new thing or the thing that would make people really excited made it. So that whole Gen Con was just people walking up to the booth and us
Do you
going, oh
have
no,
this?
sorry. Oh no, sorry. Oh no, sorry. And it was bad and
No, that is really bad.
upsetting. And from a revenue standpoint, really terrible.
Yeah, I can see that. I can
Yeah,
see
and
that.
sometimes companies like revenue to survive.
Mm,
So the impact of that
well.
Gen Con we felt for years after. It was, yeah, that one kind of sucked.
No, that's fair. I don't even. Sorry, you gave me PTSD about distributors. And like it sent me somewhere.
Well, and it
I'm
was
back
everyone.
up.
It was distributors. It was printers. It was like 5 different organizations that all collapsed on this. It was good fun. Yeah.
No, absolutely fair.
And like, if you'd asked me to name which were the products that didn't make it, I couldn't name a single one. I repressed it all. All gone.
Well, I'm glad that you've moved on.
Yeah.
Or at least the best version of it that you can probably
Yeah.
muster. Oh.
What was I disappointed? I know I was disappointed. Don't know what about.
No, I don't know.
I was
It
disappointed.
was kind of like a dream. Like a nightmare.
And I've had so many Gen Con dreams. So many dreams where I'm like, why is it Saturday and I've never been to the booth? Is there stuff I'm supposed to be doing? Why am I not doing it? Why am I in my underwear?
No, it's okay. I see. I don't remember mine either, but apparently I've been grinding my teeth the past couple nights. So
That's a good sign of stress. Yeah.
no, I think it's a good sign that I'm just always on my grind. You know.
Way to look at the positive side.
Anyways, I'm keeping everyone up all night by accident. So I'm thinking I'm just gonna get everyone to sleep in here, and then I take that other room.
I'll just get everyone to sleep headphones. That's how we function as a family. Both my wife and I have sleep headphones, and we're very happy.
You know, honestly, that would probably work. Although the only headphones that I have are those, and those seems like
Those
seem
probably
like
would
they
not be
get
great for
crushed.
sleeping. No,
No.
your head would be.
I got a real big head. I had a special order of football helmet. That was big.
I don't think the size of your head is going to make those headphones feel more comfortable.
That's fair. Well, more like just easier to crush him is what I meant.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Still not helping.
yeah, no, not at
I flattened the headphone. Now I'm comfy.
all. Okay. Well, before we go and try to eat, is there anything that you want to get out to the people? Not necessarily before Gen Con ends, but just in general.
I want to know what you like. You just talked about that you like a relationship. What drives you?
Uh,
What do you find
Mazda
exciting?
Tribute 2007.
Weak.
Yeah, I know.
Cop out answer.
Mainly just honestly just trying to have a good time. And if I can't have a good time right now, then it is to attempt to have one later on.
I mean, I guess what I could say to get out to the people is I'm RPG division director because we kind of made up the RPG division. And I said, Lauren, could I be this thing that we made up? And I got to be Shadowline developer because I went up and said, hey, could I do that thing? And Kat's doing the collective art project because she said, do you know what would be interesting? If I pitched to Gen Con doing this. And she wrote up a proposal and just invented this whole thing out of whole cloth. So do the thing.
Yeah, no, just
I don't know what your
give it a
thing is.
shot.
Do the thing. See what happens. Make up the position that you want. Make up the creative thing that you want. Do whatever the thing is. Just do the thing.
Fair enough. I
See
mean,
what happens.
listen, I asked my GM for a job, and she made me director of crowdfunding.
Yeah. So be careful doing the thing.
Exactly.
You never know what'll happen. But the other thing,
Oh my goodness.
this is Wednesday and my voice is cracking there on the high reaches. This is
No, I fell
good.
asleep with my mouth open and the fan going directly in, so my throat has been going raw.
It's the entire desert in there.
It's so bad.
Yeah, I've got some lozenges in my back.
I was given some vocal zone and and those have been helping me. Cat on the team, not
Mhm.
your cat,
Other cat,
other
yeah.
cat. I'm assuming that you met her.
I've met her a couple times. Yeah, she keeps nagging me about water. Since Finn was yelling about water and she didn't see Finn around the booth, she's like, Finn's not here. I'm going to yell at you about water.
Well, she has been that
Very
first
pleasantly, though.
that first day she was absolutely babying me and it was a great time. She like made me tea. She was like,
She's
"Don't
very
strain
kind.
your voice," and also telling me to shut the fuck up. Which was incredibly kind because I didn't know how to do that the first day because just general anxiety, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's okay.
Yeah, tomorrow I'm not going to be able to shut up much. I'm going to be trying to make myself heard in a hall of 30, 40, 50,000 people.
Oh yeah, no, I can't wait for my voice to just finally genuinely give out
Yeah.
and then I can just walk around and be relatively silent. And
I
I'm
want you to throw
thinking,
the whole time.
but anyways, my costume for the entire con, including right now, is Billy Butcher. Um, and I've been working on it. Hang on, I'm waiting for my voice to give out while I'm doing it. It's going to be, "Oi, Yui."
Nice.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Hey, that's enough. You got the essence across.
Thank you, thank you. I also don't have a giant trench coat. We're gonna have to work on a costume
Yeah,
for
oh,
you.
everyone needs a giant trench coat. Whatever the genre is, you need a giant trench coat.
Oh,
Shadowrun,
that's fair.
Western, noir, all of it.
You saw me go down in the hall with just like my normal clothes on, and I was already sweating bullets. I would cry if I was in a trench coat.
We were supposed to have like leather biker jackets. Someone was going to make us this custom leather
Oh
biker jacket.
no.
And on the one hand, like that's going to be real cool to have. On the other hand, it's like I'm going to die wearing that at GenCon. So they didn't make it. We're probably okay.
All right, I think CJ probably has enough ad lib.